Hey guys, this is Eric. I've got another ostomy product review. This time it's on a product line that I've never reviewed before. This is ConvaTec's Natura line, and this happens to be their moldable wafer. Stay tuned. Okay, now before I get into the nitty-gritties of this review, I just want to explain what exactly a moldable wafer is. Now, traditionally with wafers, you tend to have either pre-cut or cut to fit. And the difference being, pre-cut is already holed at a specific size, usually the size that your stoma is. And cut to fit is one that you would have to measure your actual stoma, then you would cut that hole and then fit your appliance on. Now, most people are using cut to fit usually right after surgery because their stoma tends to be swollen and then it shrinks very rapidly over the next month or so. So it's really important to have a measurement every time you change your appliance. For me personally, I always measure my stoma because I find that there's usually a bit of variation and I'm not very comfortable with just keeping it at one specific size all the time. So moldable wafers tend to be in between the two. So they actually allow you to shape the product to fit your stoma, but they're not necessarily set to a certain size. So it's a very unique product, and I'll explain and show you exactly how this product works. So I'll start by talking about the wafer. The wafer really is the star of the show here. And because it's a moldable wafer, as I explained earlier, it has a couple of advantages over the pre-cut and the cut to fit. Now, the way this product works is you actually have a plastic release liner back here. And this actually has several other release liners that help you to put the product on without having it stick onto your fingers and whatnot. But you essentially would roll the center of this more or less to the size of your stoma, and then you would fit the appliance on, and you would then squeeze it usually around your stoma. For me personally, I don't have to mold it too much once it's already on, but for some people with very irregularly shaped stomas, you may have to just mold a little bit of that in just so that it fits and there's no gaps or anything like that. So the idea behind it is phenomenal. It actually saves a lot of time. It's super convenient in that regard, and overall on paper it looks really like one of the best products that you can possibly get for an ostomy appliance. However, in practice, I find that it's not that easy. For one, I find that moldable wafers don't tend to last as long. Now, I know that this could really be different between one person to the next, but for me personally, I don't get much longer with this sort of thing. Now, if you're the type of person that wears barrier rings, and usually you would wear barrier rings if you've either got some irritation around your stoma or if you're trying to prevent leaks, this might actually be a good alternative to that, because the way this works is it swells quite a bit more than I'm used to seeing in any other traditional wafer, and that really helps to fill in any gaps, and it should technically prevent leaks if that's something that you're having problems with. Now, I know a lot of people who have liquid output have a lot of success with the moldable wafers, so don't take my experience as the only experience, and I definitely want to make that a point. You have to try the product out for yourself. But let's get on to some of the other things that I don't quite like about this particular product. Now, the center part here, this is the hydrocolloid part, I find it to be very thick in comparison to other products. And that thickness, when you have the appliance on, you can really notice that thickness because it's very apparent when you're looking at the very thin tape border on this, and then that really thick hydrocolloid. It looks kind of sloppy. And now I'm used to having Hollister products that are very seamless in their transition. You don't really notice that. But to me, this kind of bothered me a bit because it's quite a bit thicker than the tape. You can notice it sticking out when you're wearing it. And it just, to me, I wasn't very comfortable with that look. Now, that doesn't really detract from the function. It still works as a wafer, and it works quite well. But, that's something that bothers me. Now, this is a mechanical coupling. I know ConvaTec has, like, a lot of products, okay? This particular product is it is a regular mechanical coupling. It's flat, so it's not a floating flange. It doesn't give you any space to actually put your finger under to clip the pouch down. So I personally found putting the pouch on this is very, very difficult. I had to put a lot of pressure on there, and I can't imagine actually being out of surgery and having a really sore abdomen and having to put this product on. Now, having said that, there is an accordion flange, and it's not a product that I've tried out yet, but there is an accordion flange that does stick out a bit more, and it does allow you to, get your fingers underneath to put a lot of pressure on that, so the pressure is taken off your abdomen. That might be a good solution for somebody who is fresh out of surgery, or perhaps doesn't have the finger strength to push down as hard as you need to, the way it is like this. So that's one thing to think of. My biggest complaint personally with this product is the fact that it doesn't come off cleanly. And you'll notice on some of the pictures that I'm putting up here, it also starts to collect a lot of lint, like from my clothing and stuff, around the edges. Now, if it was easy to clean that off, I wouldn't really have an issue with. But it's so damn hard to remove that adhesive, even with adhesive removers. And believe me, I've tried many different adhesive removers, and I've even tried scrubbing it down with wipes. And it's just so hard to get that off. Now, I know a lot of people might say, well, just leave the adhesive on there. You're going to be putting another sticker, on top of it anyway, so just leave it on. The problem is, I have to shave around my stoma every time I change my appliance. And it's very difficult, if not impossible, to shave properly when there's still adhesive residue on there. And I use an electric razor, so I don't want to damage the razor by going over a lot of that sticky mess. So that becomes a really big problem. So for me, the time that I save in putting this appliance on, I lose considerable amount of time when I have to go and remove it. So that, to me, is my biggest deal breaker with it. But let me get on to some of the other parts of this whole appliance, and you'll see why I really don't like it as an overall unit. So these are the bags that would go with that wafer. There's both an opaque and a clear bag. For now, I'll focus on the opaque because it's quite a bit different from the clear. They function exactly the same way, but there are some subtle differences. Now, this opaque bag has I wouldn't say fabric, it's almost like a very soft plastic. It actually feels really nice to the touch. Now, I really, really don't like cheap fabric materials on bags. This one here doesn't feel cheap, and it actually performs quite well the first 1 or 2 days. But after some time, especially as you fold the outlet in underneath, I find that it starts to tear along the bottom, and that gets really annoying to me. Another problem that I found with this particular material is the fact that it takes way, way, way too long to dry. Now, when I first got it, I thought, wow, okay, it's not fabric, it's not like a material fabric, so maybe it'll actually dry faster. But man, was I wrong. What ends up happening is the water actually gets trapped underneath this material, and it doesn't evaporate very easily. So even if I'm using a hair dryer, letting it out, patting it dry, things like that, it just doesn't seem to get dry very quickly. And for some people, they might find that to be extremely annoying. I personally don't like that feeling, but it is something that I've noticed on this. I will talk a little bit about the filter as well. A lot of people sort of bank their experience with their appliance on that filter working properly. For me personally, if my filter isn't working, I tend to get more pouch ballooning, which means it fills up with gas, and that's when I tend to get a lot of nighttime leaks. So having a good filter is really important. This filter, I haven't had a good experience at all with it. First of all, one of the things that I don't like about this filter is that you do have to put a sticker over it when you're having a shower or going for a swim, for example, because you will ruin the filter if it gets wet from the outside. Now, I'm used to using Hollister products. That's not a concern, so that really is a bit annoying, but it's not the only product to have this. I've seen other brands with that similar problem, and you have to put stickers on all of them. The back of this filter looks like the type of membrane that I've seen on other brands, and that should help protect from water getting into the filter, clogging it up and that sort of thing. But I'll be quite honest with you, this is the only filter that I've ever worn that has leaked for me, and it leaks consistently for me. I'm not sure why, I can make some guesses, but it's definitely not cool. If you're wearing this for more than a couple of days, you may find that it will also leak for you, which means that conveniently on a 2-piece, you can swap that bag out for another one, but if you're using a 1-piece appliance with that same filter, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. Now that to me is deal breaker number 2. I really don't like that. I don't like ruining clothes. I don't like ruining ostomy bands and wraps and things like that. And that is something that has become a problem for me. And I've noticed the smell before I notice the leaking, but by the time I get to that, it's already too late. One way to remedy that, obviously, is to go with a bag without the filter, but that's not really a solution to me. I want that filter to be on there. The second thing that you probably have to do if you discover that it is leaking is to just cover it up with those stickers that come with it. Now, obviously, that defeats the purpose of having a filter on there, but for some people, I guess it's not that big of a deal. For me, it was. I do want to move down then to the lower half of this product. Now, this is a drainable pouch, as you can see. And this uses a Velcro fastener. Now, what I found really strange, actually, was that there's a second fastener here to kind of secure it all in place. And my first thought was, well, okay, I guess that might actually help to keep things more secure. And then my second thought was, are they not confident enough that the first seal will hold that they have to put a second one on there to keep it all in place? So I'm not sure about that. I don't know what to think, but in any case, it is secure for me. It really didn't open up or leak or anything like that through there. So I'm quite happy to say that. Now, I will say that using this Velcro, it's a nice large Velcro. It is pretty easy. I know that there are other brands out there with smaller Velcro that have smaller teeth, closer teeth, and it's not that easy to press or know when you're pressing down. This one's a little bit easier, although you still have to make sure that you do have the entire surface of that connected to the other piece. Now, the actual drain part of this, I'm happy to say it's quite a bit better than some other products that I've tried. You don't have to crease this. As a matter of fact, I'm able to open this up with one hand without any issue, and it's very easy to open. It's also very easy to clean. There's no fabric anywhere on there, so even if a little bit of output gets on there, it's not going to stain it. You're not going to have too much trouble with it. But it is open. It is easy to open. It is easy to clean. Closing it is pretty easy. Like I said, you just roll that up. You attach you join the fastener part together. And then you put this other flap on there, I guess, for extra assurance. Now, you can roll this up into that fabric. I found that you can roll it up so that it's actually on the front part, or you can roll it backwards so that it's on the back. That's a matter of preference. For me, this is the way I've always done it, and that's fine. This will hold. It doesn't dangle like some other brands that I've tried. However, as you wear this, and as the days go by wearing this appliance, I find that this material down here will start to tear, and then it doesn't really hold it in place as easily. So unfortunately, that's what ends up happening. But for some people, that may not be too much of an issue. So as I mentioned, connecting these two, to me, is really, really difficult. And I've actually seen people on forums saying that they're having a lot of trouble getting that together. I know some people put water in between the flange to kind of lubricate it a little bit. I've heard of people putting a drop of oil or hand lotion in there. And I'm telling you, when you have to resort to that sort of thing to get the bag to attach to your wafer, you got to make it a little easier than that. Now, I will say that once it is on, it's pretty damn secure. You don't have to worry about it going anywhere. I don't find that it was very easy to rotate, and for some people that may not be an issue. For me, because I like to wear products that support my appliance horizontally, that becomes more of an issue, but that's a minor thing. Most people won't have to concern themselves with that. The profile is fairly low, and when I say fairly, I mean for a 2-piece, it's not that bulky, but it is definitely bulkier than some of the other 2-piece systems that I've used. And a lot of that has to do with this thick hydrocolloid center part here that just really looks apparent when you're wearing it. Now, I will say that the pouch and the whole system as a whole is quite comfortable. I don't really find that it was uncomfortable in any sense. You do notice it a little bit when you're sitting. It's not very flexible, but because it has that tape border, it doesn't dig into my skin, and it seems to be more comfortable in that regard. Overall, I think the ConvaTec Natura two-piece system is a pretty solid system. It will work for most people that try it. I, however, find that there's too many problems with, first of all, getting the adhesive off of my skin, but also with the filter. And those to me are deal breakers that I can't really live with. So you might have better luck trying this product, and I really recommend that you try it, especially if you haven't used a moldable wafer. It's quite unique, and for some people it really takes them to the next step with comfort and wear time. So I would suggest trying it before you make an opinion, but I've shared my opinion. That's what I think about this product. I hope you like this review, guys. If you haven't subscribed, do so, and you will definitely get more of these types of product reviews coming in the future. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.